Have you ever wanted to play a Chinese gambling simulator set in the post-apocalypse with fantasy and science fiction elements? Tower of Fantasy is a free-to-play open-world action RPG developed by Hata Studio, a subsidiary of. But if you want to try a game that doesn't have less viewers than Arctic Eggs, 9 out of 10 gambling addicts recommend
Wuthering Waves.
This game has some of the best gameplay of all mobile gacha games on the Huawei app gallery. It doesn't have turn-based JRPG combat or idle combat, like most other gacha games that are copy and paste. This mobile gacha game has action combat, so right off the bat, you immediately know that it's the cream of the crop, the complete opposite of Crunchyroll's shovelware garbage. Wuthering Waves is a game that really makes you feel like you're a Chinese martial artist. There's iframes with dodging, there's parrying, there's even attack canceling. And it's not just the combat that's next level, the animations are as well. On top of the combat animations, each character also has 3 idle animations.
You done staring?
For every step in every character's basic attack combo, they've meticulously added unique animations for returning to the idle state. And despite having all of these top-quality dynamic animations, the game never feels stiff or restrictive. Once you defeat an enemy, you can consume their souls and trap them in an eternal limbo inside your Chinese water bottle. That, or they go into your Chuni hand. I'm actually not sure. After that, you can either transform into the enemies you've just defeated for an attack, or have them out on the field providing support, just like in Super Mario Odyssey. Also, there's shinies. This game is also like the only game with a stamina meter that doesn't deplete when you sprint. One thing I will say is that this game has one of the worst element systems I've ever seen. Playing with this element system is like walking with soggy pants on after you've pissed yourself from urinary incontinence, an incredibly dejecting experience that doesn't enrich your life in any way. There isn't a point to elements at all, except to make grinding echoes way more tedious. You need to find an echo that not only has the set you want, but also the specific main stat element damage bonus you want, in which there are 6 of. Like Russian roulette, except you actually want to be shot. There are no elemental advantages in Wuthering Waves, only elemental weaknesses. Bosses take reduced damage from the element that they are, and overworld enemies are just straight up immune to the element that they are. Oh, you have a fire team? Well, I coated myself in asbestos. Completely unrelated, but I am currently suffering from a chronic lung disease. And because there are no elemental advantages, and no team element synergy bonuses, there's no reason to build characters after you've already built your main team, which further discourages experimentation. What reason do I have to invest into my max-duped Denjin, when I have already built a main DPS character, Jian, who is objectively better? Another thing I'm not a huge fan of regarding elements is there being no dynamic interactability with the environment. These thorns that burn away in seconds after being hit by one of these flower bombs, they're completely immune to the fire from your fire character. Also, the grass in this game has to be made out of plastic, like one of those artificial turfs, because they somehow don't catch on fire. There are no elemental reactions. They could have really easily called this game a sandbox open-world action RPG, instead of just open-world action RPG. Speaking of Wuthering Waves being an open-world game, Wuthering Waves is an open-world game. There are just enough neuron activators in the open world to keep my dopamine levels regulated, so I don't pull up a split screen of Subway Surfers gameplay. But on the topic of world design, it's interesting. An example of this game's exquisite world design is this gigantic open-air elevator in the middle of nowhere that serves absolutely zero purpose. There are chests strewn about randomly throughout the world. and the puzzles all look like they're ripped straight from another game. The puzzles are all designed
for mentally ill middle school girls.
You know, the target demographic for gambling simulators.
Try counting them. I have a feeling they may be the passcode.
All in all, the open world is serviceable, and I much prefer an open world like this over whatever the hell this is. You might be wondering, what are the exciting rewards for completing these Mensa IQ puzzles? Or opening these luxurious chests found in the expansive open world? You get just enough premium currency for 1/16 of a single pull on the gacha. Or if you've been a really good boy, you might even get enough premium currency for 1/4 a single pull. But hey, summoning isn't all there is to progression. There are also time-gated stamina points that you need at least 3 entire days worth to acquire the upgrade materials that'd give your character an upgrade of 4 whole attack percentage points. Well, at least this game allows you to endlessly farm equipment by killing monsters without expending any stamina points. Now as for the story, it's pretty straightforward. You play as a generic isekai protagonist, shat into an ethereal toilet bowl filled with sound waves water by a celestial deity. You emerge from the sea of sound waves toilet water upside down at the top of the world. Except, you actually don't. Because in the very next scene, you're awoken by the game's poster child, an Amber from Genshin Impact. So, was it all just a dream? Or did you actually fall from the sky and crash headfirst into the ground below, giving you a healthy serving of video game protagonist amnesia? Who's to say, but the head trauma at least gives you an excuse to strike this Chuny pose. So, right next to where you woke up, in the middle of nowhere, there's this giant statue of a Chinese dragon god. And after seeing it, you get Vietnam flashbacks that foreshadow the story. How convenient. This dragon god, I mean Long, I mean Oracle Engine, I mean Sentinel, I mean is the protector of the city of Jinzhou. And it's obsessed with trap cards. After you explain your vision to Plank of Wood, you get treated to several minutes of tedious exposition that will no doubt ingrain itself as one of your core memories after dozens of hours of re-rolling attempts.
Now it's time to use a glider module.
Then after that, you jump off a cliff, stand next to an ominous X on the ground, and meet Baidu as well as her pet Alibaba.
You were super energetic. Handled a super big TD.
During the tutorial Crownless Boss, the game teaches you how to dodge, how to parry, and most importantly, how to do a finishing attack. Trust me, the finishing attack move is the most important move in the game. You're going to be doing it far more often than dodging or parrying. If you're not doing the finishing attack all the time in your playthrough, well, I'm sorry to say, but you're playing the game wrong, and you should probably uninstall and cry to your mommy about how you couldn't execute the finishing attack move, the most important move in Wuthering Waves.
I would be more than delighted.
After you beat the tutorial boss, you're on your way to the city of Jinzhou. You get invited to the Hokage's palace.
Kindly have a seat. Lady Sanhua will be with you shortly.
You then meet the best Glacio character in the game, which isn't saying much because there's only like 3. She gives you a sundial, a rotten fruit, a blue leaf, and a piece of candy. You are then supposed to use these items as clues.
When it comes to these tokens, it is never her intention to confuse you with the puzzles. Instead, they should serve as clues that lead you toward the truth.
And in the most convoluted way possible, piece together the time and place you're supposed to meet the magistrate, who you must know is away for exactly 3 days.
In 3 days' time. Because she will require at least 3 days.
After leaving Town Hall 14,
Like the grapple.
you arrive at a laboratory where you get to talk to Gacha character number 5, Mortefi, and he...
Thank you, sir.
Never mind, you actually talk to Baiji instead.
You're in the Department of Safety.
She convinces you to play Sword Art Online, where the logout button's disabled, the terrain is distorted, and you're really wondering if the last 50 reroll attempts were worth it. After you defeat the small fries, you see a giant moon in the sky, and a demon angel looking thing attacks you. And then you wake up.
Rover! Rover! Thank goodness.
Finally awake.
Nothing else about the story matters after this, because this is the point where you unlock your totally not a slot machine, and can gamble away your life savings to the Chinese Communist Party of Tencent.
I am Baiju, a researcher at the Huashu Academy.
Hey, Willies, make some room. Look, see? Oh, lecturer's memo, of course.
Release the wants, and the mind quiets. Cleanse the thoughts, and the soul clears.
Ranger Donjing. Worry not. My crimson...
So, if you haven't picked up on it already, the story isn't exactly a masterpiece like Citizen Kane or the Chronicles of Sonichu. And like all gacha game stories, it only exists as advertisement for the game's gacha characters. They would pull random characters out of the ether, completely ruin the pacing of the story by giving them a few lines of milquetoast, inconsequential dialogue, and then you never hear from them ever again. Speaking of the characters, this game has some of the best character designs and some of the most uninspired character designs. On the one hand, you have Kakarot, and on the other hand, you have Anime Girl. They took a plank of wood from the nearest Chinese construction site and made it the poster child for the game.
I'm sorry.
No, that's beyond my ability. I just sense some complex feelings from it. A mixture of deep sadness and eager anticipation. Rover, I think I know what's going on here. It seems to be begging for help, but it's not asking us to help it. I can sense the pain.
And just when you're about to succumb to the metaphorical propofol, Kuro Games have injected directly into your veins to put you into a medically induced coma.
Guess you won't need my self-introduction.
Dante from Devil May Cry shows up, and he has just finished watching episode 89 of Yu-Gi-Oh! You will either love this guy or hate him, depending on whether or not you've played the game with the good voice acting or with the English voice acting.
Your dog just died.
The streams feel heavy with dread and the smell of blood. There must be a brutal fight going down in the Desert Island. There, another wounded soldier. The streams are stabilizing. I don't feel anything unusual about him. He's not a phantom. Let's go help him out.
Alright, that's enough about the story and the characters. Now as for the music... it's pretty alright. Now as for the game itself, overall... And do you know the YouTube analytics not subscribed gag that people do all the time and is never funny? Well, this time it's actually true because this is the first video ever on this channel, so do it.